Oh, Josh? Looks we got Josh.
Yeah.
Call the Select Board's meeting to order for May 10th, 2021. Until further notice, to keep our members and staff safe and to comply with RSA 91-A, the state of emergency, and Governor's orders restriction on public gatherings, the town of Alton has moved from in-person meetings to remote audio participation meetings. To remotely attend the meeting, audio only, visit our website, www.alton.newhampshire.gov. For telephone access and remote access instructions listed under News and Announcements on the home page, or telephone the Selectmen's office at 603-875-2113 or 603-875-0229 between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. for a dial-in code and meeting ID for each Selectmen meeting. Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, I got it. Agenda. Does anybody got anything to add?
And the pledge, Mr. Pledge of Allegiance.
Yep, we'll do pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any additions or anything to the agenda?
So moved.
Get a second.
Second.
It's, Bob?
Yes.
Ruben?
Yes.
Mark?
Yep.
Paul?
Yes.
Virgil, yes. We have no announcements. Submission of public comments, questions, and concerns. We have one for Mr. Lauren Carr. I submitted a letter to the Alton Board of Selectmen on March 24th, 2021. I received a response on March 25th, 2021 from the EMT. At the April 7th, 2021 Selectmen's meeting, the chairman and two other selectmen agreed that the board had decided and directed the EMT respond to my letter of the 24th. Town clerk has no posting record nor minutes of a select board meeting on the 24th or the 25th of March. How was a discussion and decision made without an open or posted meeting held as required by the right to know law?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I can answer that and settle this.
Okay.
There was no meeting by the Board of Selectmen prior to that. The letter came in, it was in my box, I read it, handed it to Liz, the town administrator. I said, I believe this needs to go down to the emergency management team because the questions he was asking, if I'm referring to the right letter, had to do with the public, nobody is allowed in the public in the meeting chat, and also had to do with the recount vote. If I recall the letter right and the dates right, not having his letter when he attaches something like this. There was no meeting. I spoke to Liz. I said it needed to go down to EMT that day. They were having a meeting. She brought the letter to them. So she did what I asked as chairman and as the selectman, saying, because they're the ones that have set the protocol for the town of Alton, for meetings, for individuals, and also to clear up this recount that we had to have. The ones that were concerned with the recount were there and they had their witnesses. And also it was on Zoom, so public was invited to attend. At the next meeting as chairman, I read that letter into existence, into the record, and I asked, does the board want to have the EMT answer this? We said yes. Fortunately, Mr. Ryan, I believe, the director of the EMT, had decided already to answer his questions. And I believe Liz brought it down to him, saying Mr. Wentworth feels that the EMT should be answering this question. So there was no meeting. There was no foul here. somebody's jumping to the gun, and they always think the glass is half full. I was trying to stay one step ahead. I wasn't trying to circumvent the board. I was trying to get the message down where it belonged. So, this should take care of it. But to put it out there in public that we held a meeting in private and there was no meeting posted is totally wrong. And I just can't believe somebody would do that without knowing the facts. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully that will answer. Old business, Highway Department. Bid recommendation, church.
I had a tough time reading some of these figures. They're kind of small over the place.
They were all over.
All over the place.
Holy smokes.
We have the Public Works Director. It's coming in on the phone.
Okay.
Good, thank you. That'll definitely help.
Lighting's pretty good here.
Scott, are you there?
Yep, I'm with you.
On the bids, we're going over the bids.
Okay,
Just,
I'm not sure.
You're,
I think Courtney was gonna join us as well too, Mr. Chair.
all right, you hang on 1 minute. We can get her on.
Good evening.
Courtney, are you with us?
I am.
You have, because you got Integrity Earthworks and Merle, I guess, at the top, two lowest bidders.
That's correct.
Now, it's a $22,000 difference in the bids, total bids?
I believe that is between Merrill and Integrity is that dollar amount spread for the total project cost. The larger variance is on the water side of things as to how they
Yeah.
priced it relative to the installation of the fixtures and pipeline.
They would like to award it to Integrity Earthworks.
Virgil, if I could.
Yeah.
Scott and I had been talking back and forth, and the only concern that I have with awarding it to Integrity is the difference in price. Obviously, you can see we're talking about $45,000 difference for the water side by going with Integrity. If we went with Merrill, that would save the water department's end drastically. So Scott knows that I'm, with a project like this, when you group it together, you got the road and the water, that somebody's going to end up paying more, and we both understand that.
Right.
But the concern is for me, for the water side, is that, we're going to essentially save $20,000 between the low bidder to the next bidder, but it's going to cost me about $50,000 more to take on that project. Being the question of, the funds and my budget and the revenue account, that's the only concern I have essentially. And Scott, Mike, and I have been very open with the fact that, somewhere something's got to give. We're going to either be heavier on the road side or the water side. But for me to save 20,000 to spend 45 more, it just doesn't make sense in my opinion. But I have no issues with the low bidder. I just wanted to highlight that because of a couple reasons. Obviously, the bid spec sheet is very small print, and I focused on and wanted to highlight the water part, the concerns on my end for that.
So by going with Merle, you saved 45,000.
Yeah, essentially, I think it had a couple different numbers there, depending on, how the engineer bid out the 5%. But yeah, it would be around 45 to 55,000, I think. I'm pulling it up right now.
The tenant town pays more.
Yeah, if you end up, Mr. Chair, if you end up doing that, Courtney's right. It's like between 41 and 45,000 when you add the mobilization, traffic, traffic control, and et cetera in there. When I did the raw spreadsheet, I did a quick down and dirty between water and in roads, and just left the mobilization and traffic control in the road side of things, and just left the water as strictly the fixtures and the pipe. And it's about 35,000. So that's a difference between, usually you take a percentage of the mobilization and would charge that to water, and also to traffic control, part of that to water. I wasn't looking to, do that. And I agree 100% with Courtney. She has a limited amount of funds in that account. So in her side of things as well. And but one thing to take into consideration will be how the board wishes to allocate the percentages of payment relative to the project. I know when I came in, Ken mentioned that there was, various accounts that could be utilized for this process, and that the town had in fact done the warrant article for the 950,000, which will cover this project completely, but that will leave limited funds for some of the other work that may need to be done in planning for next year for road work. And then also trying to do I would like to see some preservation work done, going forward, even if there's only a limited amount of money left in that road account.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
Scott, what is in that account that was left over from last year's after all expenditures? Was it about 327,000?
I can tell you just one second here. Let me pull my sheet out. In looking at what Ken gave me for figures here as of 12/30, this was actually as of 12/31 of 20, it looked like the road construction account going across is 300 and shows 325. $325,455.52 in that account. He did have some other numbers on the side here, which would deduct out if in fact you were going to move forward with putting the 1-inch top coat on everything that was paved last year. So he did not do that work last year. So that would be a deduct of about $264,000 if the board wishes to move forward with completing that part of the project, and which would only leave you about $61,430 left in that account if in fact you were to move forward in that direction that way.
So I give you about $1 million left with 13,000 on the other end of it, if we move forward with that. And I remember talking to Mr. Roberts about this, where it might be tight. we could forego the top coat this year if we had to. He did say that if money got tight.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, I wouldn't want to go
Yeah.
more than a year, but, and that's why I said there could be, if in fact there was a small amount of funds left, that there may be some consideration. You got a lot of miles of pavement here. As I've been surveying these roads, are going to need some serious attention relative to preservation, so you don't get into a point where you're buying a lot of asphalt and just spreading asphalt on these roads. You can do some things to seal them up and get some more years out of them, and that may need to be looked at in consideration if in fact you are still have some monies remaining after this project.
My next question, Mr. Chairman, Town Administrator Kansas, how much was the anticipated revenues from the state going to be? Was it 252? Was it
I think it was
92?
a little less than that, about 220, I think, ish.
The highway block grant.
Yeah, highway block.
Yeah, the highway block
I'm
grants,
sorry.
I believe, $191,000. I've got the letter right here. Hang on just one sec. Yeah, the highway block grant, it says here for the fiscal year 2021, which there may be one that's more up to date that the town administrator may have, which would be potentially a little bit more, but I've got here 191,390 in the letter that was dated from August of 2020. So this would run through till July, I believe, if I'm correct on that, right, Liz?
The fiscal year 21 will end next month.
Right, June.
Yeah, the end of June.
So my question would be, the highway block grant, say $191,000, can be used in the construction of highways, repairs. Can it also be used in the water lines? Public ways.
I would keep it on the road side of things and use your other funds towards the water.
Okay, the only thing I'm saying is,
Tax dollar.
if Courtney, and I understand the way she feels, because that revenue fund, because I helped establish along with Mr. McDonald a few years ago, and I was quite surprised there isn't as much in there as I was hoping there would be. I think the difference that Courtney is worried about, of the $41,000 should come out of that 191, and that way there, it doesn't affect the taxpayers on their property tax for the water department, because the $191,000 is coming from a gas tax that we are charged throughout the year. So if we use that difference, that brings the water department's cost down by the water users by $40,000 less. And then the road reconstruction part of it is picked up by the town of Alton. And I think it could be a nice even spread for everybody. And then you still go with the lowest bidder. That's who you prefer to choose. Because otherwise I might have to lean the other way, because there's more taxpayers than there are water users. And to ease the burden on the water users, I might have to go with the population. And unfortunately, I hate to say that, but I might have to go with them because they can afford the bill better on the road reconstruction than the water users can pay on the water line.
But you gotta remember, water department is a separate department that, we don't use taxpayers' money.
Well, that's
I'm not using taxpayers' money. I'm using the state of New Hampshire's money that's being returned to us out of the $191,000. It's taxpayers' money, but it's not raised by property taxes. This is raised by gas revenues, which come in from all the residents in town, all the tourists in town, in the state. So I'm not using the actual tax dollars raised by taxation. To make it easier on her budget, and you still go with the low bid. And I still think you have enough money to do it, even if you held off on one road of top coat, or even all the roads this year for top coating. And do your top coating next year, and hopefully there'll be monies left over. So instead of the $952, you go back to having $1.3 million back in that account, or 1.2. So you still have a cushion to fall on in case he has emergencies this year coming down the road, which you don't know.
And also the board asked at a previous meeting just recently if there were enough in that fund to pay for the drainage engineering on Roberts Cove. So there, all these things are coming into play.
And secondly, with Gene Shaheen's note in here, we could apply for that for the water line, and hopefully we expend it and hopefully be able to be reimbursed for it.
Yes.
And if we are, then we could put the $42,000 back into the equipment fund to pay that back, part of it back. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So the document that I sent out last week, and you had a copy at your seat, that's, they're preparing bills for funding. And that's for fiscal year 22. So the federal government's fiscal year is different than other people's fiscal year. So their fiscal year starts October 1st and ends September 31st. So that means this funding, if it's approved, won't be available until October 1st. And then you don't even know if you're gonna.
But if that could be a reimbursement for what we use this summer on that water line.
It's gotta be for a project in fiscal year 22, so.
Okay. That's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman.
We get it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I
Yes, Carl.
do want to highlight for the board that you need to take in consideration that that price that we got from the bidders is less the pipe, the hydrants, and the wet taps. So I still am quoted $55,000 to purchase that stuff as well. So when you're looking at the two bidders, keep in mind that if we go with the lower bidder and it's heavier on the water side, I still have to spend the money on the pipe. And we did that so we prevented the markup from the contractor because we're part of the VAST program to get the materials for cheaper money. So that's another thing to keep in mind.
So we're buying the pipe still to add into
Correct.
this contract. We're adding another,
Correct.
how much is the pipe?
$55,000. And that was the price in April. So the way things are changing, that's a 30-day price. So
That's for all the 8-inch pipe?
Is that the 8-inch
That's
pipe, Courtney?
that's for the 8-inch, the 60 feet is 6-inch, the hydrants, and the materials used for the wet taps that we're doing in-house.
So for the hydrant of $3,600, that is not included in the price, correct?
So the bid specs that you have is the installation of the hydrants when they list that. So that's what they're charging
So
you to install the hydrants.
Can you install a hydrant cheaper than $3,000?
Well, the hydrant itself is going to be $26, $25 a piece. We could, but I mean, you know, this
Well,
is the whole point of the project. You know, it like I can say I can be there when the contractor's ready to tie a hydrant in, but with one guy, it's just me and Thomas. If I've got something else going on, we can't just install a hydrant when they're ready for it.
I understand that, but that's the question I'm asking you. For a hydrant, they're going to charge you $3,000 when it's cost you $26,000. It just, to me, they've inflated their price on that for not having to buy it.
Absolutely.
you
I
might
mean,
as
really
well
look, we did Mooney
I-
Street for $6,000, so that's 540 feet in-house.
A lot of money.
Less the pavement.
But, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, you heard my spiel.
917.
I mean, no matter who you go with, they're still going to have to spend $55,000 for the pipe, whether it's Merrill or.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
The 55 is a lot easier to swallow because the money's there. But if we can save 40,000 on the other end by pulling it out of the 191,000, you're saving the water users money, you're not hurting the taxpayers. And you're using state money that, You're using state money that the tourists have helped paid in the state, along with us.
And we can use the highway block grant money for the water.
Public ways.
Yep.
That's not an issue.
As far as according to the town administrator, but Scott and the town administrator have to look into it further.
Yeah, as long as it'll work.
Scott, isn't that kind of gray, how that reads? As far as using that on other
I think it could
road
be a little
betterment
bit,
projects?
yeah, I mean, it could be a little bit gray. I think in order to do, what Selectman Wentworth is saying, I think is, if in fact this stays as a town road project, it's probably a little bit more black than it is gray, because it'll be one pot, as long as you're not segregating some of these other components out. If you say that, the 950 that was voted at town meeting, and you're gonna use the offset of your revenue from your highway block grant, which it sounds like you use the offset to come into the general budget as an offset. I'm not sure how that is done, because the warrant article, I don't have the copy of the warrant article, but I don't know that it actually spelled that out in the warrant article, that you were gonna use a highway block grant as part of the funding on that. But
Believe
Yeah, that
the town warrant article was to see the town will vote an appropriate sum of $952,000 for the highway road reconstruction account with revenues from the state of whatever it was, 191. I don't believe it says offset. Do you have it right there?
I was looking,
It's handwritten.
it's handwritten, it's tough to read.
yeah, I just found it actually here in my notebook, and you're correct on that. Selectman Wentworth does say that it does mention the 191 as a offsetting revenue. So I would say that, R&DR, I think it'd be okay.
Sounds
Mr.
good.
Chairman, I did verify that through a project in Meredith that I completed that was hand in hand with the Public Works Director there. We replaced the water main, and they got block grant money and redid the pavement. Essentially, it was for my project, but they did repave the road with block grant money, so I'm pretty certain that you can do that.
So block grant money in this town, at least, and two other towns I worked for, has always been, you could use it for anything that's a public way, whether it's a sidewalk or a road, like a walking trail that's the town maintained public way. Anything within that.
I believe what they say is it can be used for the purpose to improve anything having to do with the road.
Wishes. Would they like to go with earthworks, integrity, or Merle?
I have a question.
Yeah, I'm on board with spending the extra 22,000 and going with Merrill, just because I know the work. And I know the company is half the
Go ahead,
time.
Bob.
Oh, yeah. I just had a question on the project, though. I had a water department money, so that's been addressed. Inspections. Who's gonna oversee the inspections on this project? Is it gonna be the engineer, or you, Scott, or a combination of both of you?
I mean, I would look at it between Courtney and myself doing the day-to-day check-ins, and probably on a weekly basis, the engineer would be involved, would be consulted if there was a
Yeah, we
question
have-
that came up.
We're still using KV Engineering, right, for this?
That's correct.
Yeah, they would.
They're an engineer that we keep on
Yeah.
retaining.
That's the way I understood it, yeah.
So is there gonna be, is there gonna be another charge by the engineering firm?
I would expect that there'll be some billable hours that'll come from the engineer out of this project. And that's the reason why I carried a 5% contingency in my estimate, which it could be low. I mean, but I'm being conservative, I think, in that situation. I mean, if they run into some things down there that we don't know about, then potentially that contingency may be eaten up relatively quickly.
Yeah, I believe in the contract, there was money set in this contract to see the contract through, I believe. But I don't have the contract in front of me.
No.
Things like inflation and whatnot.
Usually they have their own contingency in there.
Oh, yes.
On top of this, it'd be in the 862, I believe.
Not in the 862. What I'm talking about is the original contract we signed with KV Partners to do the engineering, to see the project through. I believe there was monies in there to see the project all the way through, not just the design and the bidding. But I don't have the contract from me, so I won't say it's 100%.
Yeah, because we paid them 25,000 so far, supposedly.
Correct.
Is that right? It says 25,585 engineering service.
Right, engineering services.
That's what I have as recorded as payments, as of writing this memo on the 3rd of May. I would expect that, once again, I believe in there, and I didn't review the contract before tonight relative to how they had it laid out, if they had a total dollar amount for the overall project itself, or whether or not they had bringing it to the bid phase, which we're at now, and bid award. And then generally we end up writing a scope, depending on what the construction management or oversight might be from there on out, which they would charge a different hourly rate depending on whether there was an engineer involved or whether there was a project manager involved in that process. But that's the reason why I carried the 5% contingency on the memo.
Scott, Paul wants to ask you a question.
Scott, I have a quick question for you. Have you ever worked with or done anything with Integrity Earthworks before? Any information at all you can give us on their work ethics and quality?
Yeah, I haven't worked with them personally in my years of doing the work. We have looked into their references, and also has contacted other projects that were managed. Most recently, myself personally, I did speak with the Public Works Director in Wolfboro and also the assistant there. And they have done the project there at the library, the site work at the town library in Wolfboro, and they are doing a road project on Stoneham Road. They had no issues with their work and their performance. I did speak with now an employee of theirs, which is also a retired public works director from Ossipee, which is Brad Harriman. Brad is now a estimator and employee of Integrity. And he did contact me and reached out to me and let me know that that's where he is now. And that did make me feel a little bit better, similar to like Selectman Mitchell's comment. He's worked with Merrill Construction. And so you have a comfort feeling of their abilities and comfort, by having somebody that in the firm. It does help out with that feeling personally that way. So, I had a little bit better feeling after getting that information as well. And, and checking on that. They tend to keep small projects under $1 million. So this is probably on the larger end of the scale as far as on the dollar amount, as far as projects that they handle. So that seems to be that's their wheelhouse, is in that 500 to $1 million.
And I think that would explain why the cost of the water is so high, is because water lines go in the ground first, and they're probably gonna need some working capital to go with. So you jack the price up a little bit on the water, then you've got your working capital to work to get your project going. But I have worked with Integrity and Merrill.
With Merrill.
So, they did a water line for us last year, and, it's done. We'll just leave it at that. I will not vote for that, but the job is done, so.
You're talking about,
Integrity.
Integrity. And as far as Merrill is concerned, no comments? Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't worked personally with Merrill, but I've had plenty of other folks that have worked with Merrill and you know, I've known of the business for many, many years, as probably many of you have. And, you know, I haven't had anybody ever come back to me, whether it be an affiliate with New Hampshire DOT with the work that they've done, or another public works director that's come back with any type of a road construction job and had any negative feedback whatsoever. I think they're a very capable company that could come in here and certainly do the project. And I agree with Selectman Mitchell. I think that, you know, what we find in these bids is there's a little bit of a shell game that tends to go on with how people either have to raise their capital or where they put their money in their bids. They shuffle it around that way and keep people guessing, I guess, in some ways, and also potentially deal with their capital issues.
Mr. LaRochelle, I can tell you that I personally have worked with RM Piper, Earth, Weaver Brothers, Lyman, and Merrill. All on a
thank
personal
you.
level. Yep.
Wow, okay.
What's the board's wishes?
Sure, make a motion to go along with the Public Works Director recommendation, Integrity Earthworks, in the amount of $862,224.50.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any discussion? No discussion on it. Paul?
Yes.
Rob?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's ordered. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you very much.
You're gonna
Thank you,
stay
Courtney.
on the line?
It's a, just so you guys know, it's a group effort. So we, you know, I'm still feeling my way and I've had good support. So thank you very much. And thank you very much to Courtney.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Courtney.
Courtney, you're gonna stay on the line?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We are going to new business now. Water Department revenues and past due balance.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the past due balances are actually for non-public. So that shouldn't have been, so
Okay.
it's just the revenue.
We'll go to the Water Department's revenues.
Okay. I created a kind of a quick memo for you guys to follow easily. The revenue account through to March, the balance is $391,339.40. That's through March. Right now, our operating budget spent as of May 5th was $130,329.91, which is 27.44% of our budget. We just billed, the commitment for that is $123,413.95, which is $11,274 higher than this time last year. The bills for the summer accounts are going out this week, which will, in essence, bring a total of $90,549. And our current receivables through to today, when Penny left, was $178,590.21, or 37.59% of our budget.
Now, have we looked into, moving some of that money out of the, because I know we were gonna do it, we haven't done it, into different funds instead of leaving it in one revenue account?
The capital reserve fund is where it should have been being put. They're waiting for the Town administrator, when we were looking to do it, we're in transition with the finance officer and everything. It has not been done, but we're waiting for their recommendations, start putting some of that money in these capital reserve funds, because leaving in that revenue fund is too easy to touch.
Not safe.
For any board, whether it's this board of selectmen or the next board of selectmen.
That's right.
That way there, you can follow the money trail, see where it goes, because that's what happened years ago. The money trail got lost. That's why we had that money that we have in that account, is because we followed the revenue trail back to where it was. It was just sitting in the general fund.
Well, I think we should designate it to different projects anyways.
My next question is, Liz, did you say the past due accounts aren't up for discussion?
They are tonight, but in non-public.
But I'm not talking individuals, I'm talking revenues amount.
Oh, okay, okay.
Because I'm looking at a piece of paper that basically says there's about $15,000 out past due. Is that correct, Courtney?
Yes and no. With our how do I say it? Our habitual past due accounts, it's really only
Okay.
$4,800. We have,
Okay.
we have some accounts that are accruing, that we've been dealing with for some time, and another vacant account, that's accruing. So if you take those away, we're actually only past due $4,800.
All right. Question I do have, Mr. Chairman. Question I do have for Courtney. Have we reached out to any of these customers that do have the large bills to see if there was any PP money that might have been available for them, that they could have paid off these past due balances due to COVID and their hardships?
Once again, one of the accounts is vacant. It's either bank owned or in a trust. That account is now $12,118.67. That's one of those accounts that we will not be able to do anything till the house sells.
Okay.
Two of the other ones are on payment arrangements that I'm up for discussion to change that, but we're trying to keep the word of the Board of Commissioners that was decided in the past. The other habitual account was actually shut off last week. So we did collect a payment, but
we're sending out shut-off notices after 60 days?
absolutely, yep. We obviously
Okay.
didn't do that as much during COVID because of, what was going on. But
Correct. That's understandable. I can understand that. Thank you.
yep.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions?
Our
Thank you,
past due
Courtney.
accounts, yep, they actually look really good compared to the past. Actually.
Yes, they do, compared to where they were
Nice job.
5-6 years ago.
Will you not need her for non-public because of the discussion that was just held? You no longer need that
Past dues,
for
do we need her for non-pub for the past dues? Would you like to get
Or are
into
you-
it more? Or?
No, I'm gonna wait to hear back from the department head what they should do with it at that point.
Mr. Chairman, I just got one question. The one with the payment arrangements is that up for discussion with you guys as to change where we move forward, or are you guys happy with the balances? To, keep it as kind of status quo? Because I'm kind of at a crossroads where I can't really change the agreement that was made in the past, if that's something you want to do.
Walk her with the non-pub?
I'd like to take the week and review that one again, Courtney, if I could stop by and see you some point in time.
Sure, yeah, I mean, they're not, they're keeping good. I just didn't know if you guys wanted to change anything.
Change it at all?
I think I'd like to stop and see you sometime during the week and talk to you about it.
Sure, okay.
Maybe we can change it and fix it, or it's always something we can do.
Okay.
So, you guys don't need to know about look at it.
Look at it more, guys. Yeah.
Oh, we thank you, Courtney.
Thank you.
Don't need-
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Agenda item 2, so.
We've already done it. Oh, position available.
Positions available, yeah.
Still there, Courtney?
Courtney, are you still there?
Yep, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I missed your second one here. Water Department position approvals.
Oh, yep, okay. So,
Good job.
Liz, Laura, and I have been, as you guys know, the operators are now certified with the state of New Hampshire, both in treatment one and distribution one. And when Virgil and Ruben were commissioners, and I think Bob came in at the end, we're required to have these certified operators because they're responsible for the operation and maintenance. And how the state lets you get licensed is each grade has its own education and experience requirements, and they have to test and meet the education and experience requirements to reach a grade level, and then apply for license with the state. When we were transitioning from the Board of Commissioners to the Select Board, towards the end, it was discovered that there was really no wage structure with the water department. So it didn't really promote professional development or give any type of incentive to get the operators licensed to fulfill their drinking water requirements. So Laura and I, since the boys have been licensed, we've been trying to figure out, how do we develop this wage scale to compensate them for achieving their drinking water licenses. So we had to update the job descriptions to match the template for the town because we didn't really have a template. Our job descriptions were, in essence, when they first were developed, they were just put on a paragraph. And when the commissioners, the new commissioners took over, we started and we were looking to hire, we kind of went further into the job description and develop an actual job description template. But we had to change that to be on the town's template because Liz has a certain procedure and template that she uses for her job descriptions. And we actually were missing a job description for the maintenance laborer job description. So Laura and I went back and forth and we got the job description finalized. So she could get us on a min-max wage structure to match all the other departments in town. And basically what we did was we just added that maintenance laborer job description, which was created when Ruben and Virgil were commissioners, and we were, I think at the time we were seeking to hire maybe a foreman, a working foreman or something along those lines. And that job description was developed. So we just needed to finalize the job description, get everything on a min-max, and Laura and I worked together to develop like a step increase, kind of like the fire departments, where if they reached a professional license, they would get this much of a raise. And that's all in the new min-max wage structure. So I think at this point, all we need you to do is to, I believe, adopt the minimum max wage structure to match the other departments in town. Because we're not on there.
Well, we discussed it as commissioners. If they got their license, they were gonna get the dollar raise.
Right, well, we have that.
I'll let Courtney finish.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
I
Courtney.
came to you, that's okay. No, I came to you guys with a scale, because we didn't have anything. And we adopted that scale. But the maintenance laborer position wasn't on the, correct me if I'm wrong. We hadn't formally adopted that with the town, the scale. So we're kind of at a crossroad. The guys are getting their licenses, but they're not getting anything for it yet because there's been nothing formally adopted with the town. So they both got raises for their their distribution one licenses that they got first, but now they're both treatment one, and we didn't know
But-
where to go from there.
The town has taken over the water department, which would have adopted what we set up as commissioners. That when
Right,
they
and
get a
that's what
license.
this scale is.
But there was no record of it, Virgil. Nobody could find any minutes or records of that meeting. This is why Courtney's here tonight. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine.
So this is why. So I guess, Courtney, my only question, you list the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions, office clerk, maintenance labor. That is when you go out and you hire part-timers to help you? Is that, am I reading that one right?
Office clerk. The office clerk one?
No, maintenance labor.
So the maintenance laborer is kind of like, you come through the door, no experience at all. You know, say we went and got a third guy, but he wasn't licensed or girl, whatever.
Okay,
And they didn't have any experience at all. They've never done anything with water. It's kind of where they would, basically where one of my other operators started, they didn't.
okay, see, you're not creating a new position then?
Nope,
Okay.
just doing some
That-
housekeeping, really.
No, thank you. That answered my question. And I wholeheartedly agree with this, what's being presented by them. Because it will make things a lot easier, save a lot of confusion, and save a lot of upsetness within the departments.
Sure, I agree.
Any more discussion? We'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, go ahead, no, go ahead,
I
Rob.
was gonna say, I'll make the motion to accept the min-max structure for the water.
Second.
Made by Brock, seconded by Paul. No more discussion? Bob?
Yes.
Ruben?
Yes.
Brock?
Yep.
Paul?
Yes.
Virgil, yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. That'll make some guys very happy. I appreciate it.
Welcome, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
On
Thank you.
to Selectmen's reports. Bob? Selectmen's reports?
Yes, on the old home week committee, I missed the meeting tonight. I didn't know about it. Well, it's a long story. I got tied up. I was lucky to make this meeting, so. But, I'll definitely make the next one. And I just have one question. I had another concerned citizen. Lauren Carr, again. I was doing my trash today at the dump. He was there. On our fire department, I believe he's been in touch with you, Liz, on the fire department capital reserve fund.
He filed a right to know law request. He
Yeah.
hasn't been in touch with me. He filed it through the office for the,
Oh, he did?
yeah.
Oh, okay. And it was a concern. Have we addressed that yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that'll come back next week, right? That's the one I just.
So I can explain this further if you'd like. But
Brilliant.
it was answered, it was, he got his second letter last week from me here at the town. And you have it in the packet there.
It's right here. It's over there in your Over in your
Okay,
big
yeah, I
folder.
didn't get to it yet.
long list, and I haven't had a chance to review it, so I'd rather not have you comment
Yeah, okay.
on it, myself personally.
We haven't looked at this.
Yeah, okay.
No, that's why we're gonna bring it up next week. We're gonna, so,
Okay.
Packets were show a chronological order of the requests and the responses and so on and so forth.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing for you tonight.
Bob?
Nope, I think I'm good.
Only one thing, he gave, actually two things. Gave you information on the master plan earlier, where that was going, and it was doing well, and it was down to, one person that they're looking at, and I believe we'll be talking about that at a later time. As far as the, water bandstand is concerned, I had mentioned that we got a phone call with an approval for the, water ski show with the ski jump.
Nice.
And I just received the actual permit, for that show, so we have that.
This is great.
Yeah, so it'll be good, bringing that back. The only other thing I'd like to bring up, as selectmen reporters, I'd like to discuss town hall. I'd like to discuss, I know we'll be talking with the EMT, members, next week.
Yes.
The director, yeah.
But I'd like to mention and see if we can't, consider reopening town hall.
Yeah, that's going on next week's agenda.
He's gonna be talking to you about a lot of things next week.
Because I've been getting a little bit of feedback, we've been getting a few people that have been upset, coming into town hall. So I think it's something we seriously need to discuss.
Sure.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I had that same concern in our last meeting, if you remember.
Yep. Thank you.
I definitely agree.
Don't have any reports this week.
Okay.
Move on to town administrator report.
All right, I have a few things. The first one is the congressionally directed spending request. I had that sent out to you last week. You have a copy of it tonight. I sent an email out to all of the departments for them to look at their projects, their future projects. For fiscal year 22, the federal government fiscal year 22, for possible funding. Right now, they are working on bills to be approved, funding bills to be approved for municipalities. You see some criteria on that document and so on and so forth. This is just for informational purposes for you, because when the department heads, if they have a project that might qualify for this funding, the deadline is in 10 days. So it'll be coming to you next week if there are any proposals from the department head for you to approve, and then the form will be filled out and we'll take care of that here and send it in.
Okay.
We make sure we stay on top of them.
Yep.
So,
So there is a minimum. But the New Hampshire Municipal Association is recommending whatever you have, no
well,
matter the price, submit it.
and I'd like to see, even if we use it for water mains, do another water main extension or something, or replace some.
Be more replacement water mains, I would say, along Main Street, but I would also say Roberts Cove Drainage Engineering and Road Choice, that's a direct environment impact on Lake Winnipesaukee.
So everybody's got it, and they're looking at their, next year project.
Do we have to choose a department or which way we go, or could this be used in more than one department?
So each project is a separate request to be submitted to the congressman's office.
So as soon as we get them in and we approve, if we approve them, then that gets submitted.
Yep, exactly. And there's only one meeting between now and the deadline, and that's next week,
Right,
so.
okay, it doesn't give us a lot of time.
No.
Great, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So the next item is Atlantic Broadband, the consortium that you all approved to join back on March 22nd. And the original consortium contract is in the signature file to be signed. And I also have a packet, you should have a packet, a copy of this. Yep. So I just wanted to go over a few things in this packet with you very quickly. So if you go to page 6 of your packet, and you look at Roman numeral 6, letter A, the consortium is the attorney, asking for someone from each town to be on a board to make decisions in the consortium. So I wanted to see if any of you would like to be on that board. It would be, I guess the terminology is Yeah, representative. And the member, whoever it is, would be considered a director, their terminology, so. Would anybody like to be in that position? And before you answer, if you turn to page 7, at the top, number G, that describes the role of whoever it is that would like to be in that position. If you turn, I'll give you a minute to catch up. If you turn to page 8, Roman numeral, letter E, there are some requirements involved for each municipality, such as posting. The meetings would be quarterly for whoever would like to do this. And the postings are on page 11, actually. Letter C, each town clerk or city clerk is responsible for that. And then if you go to page 13, that's the signature page for the agreement that's been made. Would anybody like to?
Well, first of all, we hire an attorney to do this, and now you want to make up a board of directors. Is this to take her place?
No.
Because when this comes up again, we're going to hire another attorney.
No, because each town has its own individual requirements for broadband, such as Alton. We have 2 franchises in the town, and so on and so forth. This is what happened apparently back previously, and
I think what happened, we never had a.
Only reason the board of directors, Mr. Chairman, is when the lawyer does sit down and meet with the board of directors, you'll have an idea what's going to be going before the Lenny Broadband to negotiate on our behalf with the other communities. And that's why they're looking at a board of directors, so the board of directors can bring it back to the meeting of the selectmen, tell them what's been discussed, give them the proposals, have the board decide on it, so that that director can bring it back and give it to the directors, who can give it to the attorney.
the consortium needs 1 representative from each municipality. That's what this is. Would any of you like to be the representative?
There's 1 representative from each municipality
Yes.
involved in this broadband.
Yes. For this project, which is renegotiating the franchise agreement.
How many times a year they meet?
It's once, quarterly. Well, if nobody wants to do it, would you like me to do it?
That sounds good.
You want to do it, Laura?
Okay.
That was too quick, Laura.
Would you like to think about it and I can bring it up at the next meeting? Okay.
I think that'd be fine if you wanted to do it, if you were able to do it, in my opinion.
I know, I got an email today from the town administrator in Guilford, and he was going to be speaking to his board, I think it was tonight, actually, about asking them to approve him as being the representative for Guilford.
It's Belmont, Alton, Belmont, Deerfield, Franklin, Guilford, Wilmington, Livonia.
I believe there were 9. Tilton just dropped out.
And where are they meeting?
So usually at the Guilford Town Hall, you can attend in person or remotely. All right, so I'll bring it up at the next meeting then to see if any of you would be interested in this. That'll give you a week to read through this to see if you'd like to do it. Moving on. Memorial Day. The Memorial Day holiday at the end of the month on May 31st, we're closed on that day, and that's a meeting night. Would you like to meet on another night that week, or skip it for that week, or what?
Discuss the parade or any of that?
Have we discussed what?
Imagine it.
So Ryan, the Emergency Management Director will be giving an update that on next week. There is no parade this year. The Legion will not be having a parade. According to the Legion, they are not. They have not submitted an event permit to the Selectmen.
I don't think so.
I haven't
They're
seen no
not.
permit yet.
Did I tell you we're, all the business, we're having our own? Oh, that was supposed to be a secret.
The emergency team meeting will be next Monday night?
The director will be here at your meeting next.
That's me.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep. He will. He'll answer all your questions,
On
he'll
the
tell you what's
agenda.
going on,
Mhm.
he'll have some recommendations and so on and so forth.
It's been a while
Got
since I've
recommendations.
attended to, it's been at least 3 months since I've attended them.
Yeah.
We got that public hearing too, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. He'll have to speak after that, after those three public hearings. So, getting back to Memorial Day, what do you want to do about your meeting on Monday, May 31st? Do you want to skip it? Do you want to reschedule it for another night that week? The only two nights that are available that week would be Tuesday night and Friday night.
That's not going back to every other Monday anyways.
Okay, but I'm just bringing up
Yeah.
Memorial.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we skip the 31st meeting and next meeting be on June 7th.
Second.
And we'll try the every other week.
Discussion?
I just gotta say, I don't mind going every Monday. Like, I don't mind taking the 31st off, but in my opinion, I don't mind going every Monday night. But if you guys wanna switch it to back to what it used to
Well,
be
that's-
twice a month, I'm okay with that.
That's in the books too.
I like every Monday night, to be honest with you. Only because it keeps the agenda small. You go back, putting back 2 weeks back together, you're gonna be here 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah. You'll have double
It used to be a lot of times, and that's why I'm saying I do like going every Monday night. I know it's more work for you and your office, in the office for everybody. I know it's more work, but it does make lighter work for decisions and getting things forward and
You
moving
can
through.
always reevaluate in a year or so, you know.
If you wait a year from now, then you can go back to every 2 weeks.
Are you retiring?
I'm not gonna answer that on a public meeting, so.
Bob,
Yes. Yeah.
we have a
Yes,
motion set, yes. Ruben?
yes.
Ross? Paul?
Yes.
Virgil, yes. So we'll skip and go to the 7th.
Okay, thank you. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up was, I want to call them workshops, but it's just a meeting, to start reviewing the non-public minutes that could be released. We have to do that at some point. You just can't keep certain things sealed forever and ever. I mean, some things can be, but some things
Yeah,
can't.
Well,
So did you want to pick?
well, do a workshop, or can we get like a book of them that we can take and look through them? Mark them?
So there is a document that has been created in the Selectmen's office based on a couple months ago when the board asked that a recommendation be made on the sealed items. So I hate to have,
You want them out?
right.
I understand that.
Yeah, so, I just was hoping that, you know, we could start off with one meeting, maybe do one full year's worth, and then, you know, wait a month. I don't wanna burden you with all these, you know, there's a lot, so.
That's where we get big.
You're not getting paid anything this year. Did you guys forego your wage? Okay.
I didn't forego it.
So, all right, so, any thoughts on a date?
Can't see the
This
calendar.
is like pulling teeth, honestly.
Well, he's the chairman, he's gotta throw some dates out there.
Years and years and years worth, yeah.
How many?
Years and years and years worth. Never happened.
9th, 16th, or 23rd?
You just take baby steps, maybe look at 1 year first, take care of it. Another meeting, do another year's worth.
Well, we can do a second too.
Don't have my calendar here for,
Wednesdays aren't gonna work for me.
I'm usually
I have my own
No good.
Wednesdays are no.
meetings for my job.
Tuesdays, and
Okay.
usually Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have other meetings on the boards.
That's what I got too.
Now that your meeting's still weekly, do like 20 a night, every Monday night, baby steps.
Well, yeah, if we're,
Board be willing to do that?
I mean, if we're gonna meet every Monday night still, can't we just do,
Do a bunch.
That's what she just said.
yeah,
I think we could do that.
Okay. So, taking another night.
That would be fine. So much for going home early.
Yeah.
well, I mean,
No, that's fine.
you gotta do 2 hours worth.
Right, right.
We can zip right through a lot of it.
Yeah, it's pretty cut and dry.
Especially with recommendations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
That's it. Consent agenda approval.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Bob?
Yes? Vote.
Robert?
Yes.
Rob?
Yep.
Paul?
Yes.
Virgil, yes. Agenda's done.
You have one appointment request.
We are gonna go into non-public session.
Wait, you've got a discretionary appointment.
We got a denial.
I missed him, didn't I?
Yeah.
Discretionary action or request for appointment. We have Joseph S. Huss on Convale case.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if you turn to the second page of his request, I made a recommendation to deny, as the town of Alton was not in the Conval School District, and this has already been discussed on June 13th, 2019. Probably remember you from the last meeting.
Yep. What is the board's wishes?
No.
We don't have to take a vote, we can just,
You probably should,
all
yeah.
right.
I move we approve the denial of town administrator.
You denying the town administrator?
You're moving to deny the request.
Mr. Hoff.
That's why I said no.
Mr. Hoff.
Mr. Hoff, as recommended by town administrator.
I'll second that.
Yeah, that sounded good. didn't
You
it?
sound like cancel culture here.
Just saying no.
Brock? Bob?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Brock?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Virgil, yes. Okay. Now we'll go into non-public session under RSA 91-A, colon 3, comma 2, comma D,
For property.
A and
Nope, just the top sheet there to go into, it's just this one right here.
D,
D and E.
D and E.
D for property, E for legal.
D this.
Right here, D property, E legal.
But comma D, property, and E, legal. Would you give me these ones?
Who made the motion?
Made the motion.
Second.
Bob?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Brock?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Virgil, yes. Why'd you give me these?
Thank you.
So we had to do this and this.
So, this
Chairman, 5-minute recess.
Welcome back, people. We are now in public session, and I move to not divulge non-public minutes because divulgence of the information likely would render the proposed action ineffective.
Second.
I read that, I read this.
Yeah, that's it.
I got a second on the motion already. Bob?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Virgil, yes. Make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may I, make a comment about something I'd like to put on the record? For this evening, just so that it's clarified with, the master plan committee. And what I'd like to say is, since we approved this, the master plan consultant on the consent agenda, I just wanted to put it on the record that,
I'm gonna step out of this one.
so that the master plan committee voted to approve Miss Tara Bamford for the contract at their Thursday, April 29th, 2021. And now the planning board, it'll go to the planning board for the May 18th, 2021 meeting, for their approval. Ms. Bamford informed the committee, if the selectmen did sign off on the contract, first, she would be able to attend the planning board, by May 18th meeting to begin task number 1, outlining her contract. Okay, I just want to, clarify that, put that on the record.
You have to take a vote.
No, because we've already voted on the consent agenda. Thank you.
Now I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Bob?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Brock?
Yes.
We are now adjourned.